Hello everyone, my name is Jaybird and welcome back to Lake of Voices. So, I had an interesting day today. So, for those of you who are probably new to my channel, or maybe not, I am in high school and senior year. I'm 17, and there's a talent show happening at my high school in next month. And I just auditioned for it today, so hopefully I get in it. I'm confident that I will make an appearance in the talent show. So yeah, if you're not confident in yourself, you won't make it anywhere. But anyways, that being said, we're going to do this thing. Yeah. Wee. We're getting there. I have to see Margaret. Lou continues walking away from me, but I do catch him flinch at the statement. I assume that he heard me, though he decided it was best not to acknowledge it. I look away from him as he retreats. Lingering for only a moment, I start following the trail Margaret took. I catch up with Margaret and I notice that her eyes are glistening with tears. As I try to move closer, she turns on me sharply. Ooh!
What do you want?
Oh my god. Calm down. I take a step back and keep my voice low.
I was worried.
Well, there certainly is a lot to be worried about.
Okay, you don't need to take it out on me. If you're gonna be like that, then, bye. You can just go die. I can tell she does not appreciate my concern, but that's only to be expected. I've seen people react to grief and death in dozens of different ways, and she has every reason to be upset sitting on an island surrounded by a lake that breeds death.
I promise I will do everything I can to make sure you survive through the next night. So...
That's not the problem.
Her words begin strong, but falter and soften as she speaks. I can only watch her without the slightest idea of what to do. Margaret sits atop a large mass of roots and covers her face with her hands. I step over to her and kneel down so that I can be at eye level again.
Margaret?
She twists her body away from me.
Leave me alone.
No, I will not leave you.
Margaret huffs, looking my way again only to properly glare.
Do you even know why I came out here? It wasn't as though I had anywhere important to be.
Then... why? Why would you risk this journey?
Surely you already know the heart of my distress. Haven't you ever considered what you would do if you weren't able to be a god?
I'm confused. She makes a point too good to dismiss, and I inwardly flinch when I consider it.
Yes. I originally sought this path not because I wished to protect others, but because I was concerned for my own self.
I don't blame you. If I had your coordination and ability, I would have learned to fight as well. As it stands, I cannot change what I am.
What are you then?
The settlement I come from is small, barely staving off collapse, really. The same as your town. You don't have to tell me which it is. They are all that way. My only real skill is the knowledge I've worked so hard to obtain. But, of course, a tiny village full of starving hunter-gatherers doesn't have much use for someone well-versed in history or management theories.
Yes.
Even if there are positions that require such knowledge, they are always given to those who are far older than myself.
How old are you?
So what am I supposed to do? Continue to barely survive by being one of many seamstresses? Keep being pushed around by any person more powerful or with higher social connections?
Yes?
Leaving there would only take me back to the same position. It won't ever change that way.
She drops her head into her hands and sobs. My heart aches as I kneel beside her, watching her shuddering form. I feel helpless, but what can I do? These problems are much different from what I have dealt with. Eventually, Margaret seems to pull herself together. Ha! Seems.
No. I was tired of accepting those options. Sinlos was my only chance. Only now do I realize how ridiculous a notion that is. Anyone who comes to this lake with a sense of hope will surely have it crushed.
Are you saying you wanted to become a guide?
Yes. Laugh at my ambition if you wish. People may fear the current guide, and may even blame him for the people he cannot save. But at least he has respect. Not only that, the heads of the area give him enough support to live a comfortable life.
Oh, that makes sense.
From all I'd gathered about the lake, being strong or good with a weapon didn't matter a lick. The most important qualities for a guide were being observant and shrewd, and being able to look past the struggles of someone else. But how wrong I was.
Her voice rises.
I haven't the slightest ability to deal with sinking bridges and confrontations with those horrible monsters. And even though I thought I'd lost all ability to care about the troubles of others, I still feel awful about what happened earlier. I haven't a chance of making it as a guide, which means I have no hope anywhere.
I don't know what to say about that. She covers her face once more and resumes her cries. Hesitantly, I reach out and place my hand on her shoulder. Surprisingly, she does. Oh shit. Surprisingly, she doesn't shake it off. We sit quietly like that for several moments.
You don't have to be a guide. Once this is over, you never have to come back here. There has to be something else out there for you. And if something does not yet exist, then we can create it ourselves.
Margaret chortles a bit.
What a silly idea. But if I did have to choose between returning to the normal world or staying here, I'd rather go back home.
I squeeze her shoulder, and she at last looks up at me, the tears gone from her eyes.
Thank you for sharing this with me.
Thank you for listening. You have an unexpectedly soft heart.
I know, it's squishy and gooey, just like I like my heart. What? She must have noticed the slight twinge in my face.
That isn't a bad thing, Kika.
I look away, eyes towards the ground.
I know it can hurt to care, but it also lets you lessen the pain of others. I think it would be much better if everyone cared a little bit more, rather than less.
I feel tears forming in my eyes now as I smile back at Margaret.
Thank you.
Aw. Margaret returns my look. I take a seat on the roots beside her, and for a time we sit in silence, simply being there for one another. ... Eventually I turn towards her.
Perhaps we should go check how everything is on the island.
Margaret nods.
That seems like a fair thing to do. We can't keep sitting here forever, unfortunately. I'll come with you.
Hooray!
Are you sure you'll be alright without your glasses? There are a lot of places to catch your foot or dress on.
Margaret laughs slightly.
I'm sure I'll be fine.
I offer her my arm. Oh, let's offer her my arm. She sighs softly and chides me teasingly. Look at that blush, though.
Really, you are too much.
She then accepts. Hey, I'm getting laid tonight. Woo! Together we head towards the interior of the island. Margaret and I head through the wooded part of the island. There isn't anything that could be called a path, but we managed to pick our way through the bush quite well. Through a thinner strand of trees, we briefly catch sight of the guide standing on one of the beaches. He seems fine, but even though I'm sure he turned his head toward me, he makes no show of acknowledging us. We scour the area for Lou. It doesn't take us long to find him. He appears to be alright, though still strange. I calmly greet him as we approach.
Hello. Is everything alright here?
He turns towards us and blinks, like he's waking from a sleep. It seems as though he didn't even notice us until now. He looks away once more and smiles bitterly to himself.
Everything's pretty much how I expected. Make of that what you will.
I frown at his response, but I try not to let it bother me too much. This seems to simply be Lou's way.
At least it isn't worse than you expected.
Lou doesn't respond to Margaret. I decide a change in subject may be for the best.
Are you ready to eat, Lou?
Eat my ass. Lou pauses for a moment to consider this.
Okay. If you leave something for me, I'll eat it soon.
Why do we have to leave?
I eyed Lou suspiciously. He chuckles.
I don't need you two to stand and watch me. I'd feel more comfortable eating alone.
I have to agree with Kika. You refused to eat before, and now you claim you'll only eat if no one else is around to see it happen?
If that's the case, I'll just say I won't eat again. Then there will be nothing to be suspicious over.
Yes! I like you. I love Lou. And I love his voice. I think that's a real seller right there. Both of us sigh, exasperated over his dismissive attitude. Lou snickers to himself. I take no relief in the fact that someone is finding this amusing.
Either way, we shouldn't leave anyone alone anymore. We've all had enough time to ourselves to think. Now we should focus on staying safe and being prepared for the coming night.
Lou bites his lip, hunching his shoulders up to his neck as he eyes Margaret sourly. It might be an intimidating look if it was from someone else. As it is, Lou looks a thoroughly annoyed child.
I'm not interested. There's something I'm still not finished with.
We could come with you.
Lou tries to duck further into his own body. What are you, a turtle? He is clearly wishing he could stop being the center of attention. Margaret huffs, losing even more of her already thin patience over Lou's lack of maturity on this matter.
Will you come back to find us once you're finished with your mystery task?
You can find me later, if you like. You don't need to be so worried.
Margaret and I exchange glances with one another. She seems almost guilty now. Perhaps she reevaluated the situation and feels this might be unnecessarily demanding. Margaret is looking to me for an answer. We will come back soon.
Yes, we did sort of spring this on you. You can have some time to finish up what you're doing, though we'll need to regroup not too long from now.
He offers a meek smile, eyes glued to the ground.
Okay.
I nod, then wave Margaret over. She quickly acquiesces, whatever, and we say goodbye to Lou.
Don't forget to eat something.
Eat my ass. I hand him a hide and its sinew-stitched pouch of dried salted meat and some sweet roots. He elects to not reply as he takes the pouch. Margaret and I walk off back to one of the clearings in the forest. I feel more at ease already simply being further away from that water. Big water. Sorry. The two of us settled down in between the exposed roots of the dense trees.
So...
Oh my god. Yes? Margaret gently leans her head against one of the trunks and seems to contemplate what to say. She's pretty, actually. Though I don't like how all this, like, the fancy, CG artwork, it's all, like, their eyes are just so dead inside. They don't have any pupils. It's just like, where did your pupils go? I'm scared. I silently wait for further comment from Margaret. I'm not terribly skilled at making conversation, so I trust her to take the lead. Is she just gonna take a nap? Is she just gonna take a nap right here? Okay. I like how her, like, there's bags in her eyes that like indicate she was crying. That's interesting. I mean, I'm guessing that's what that detail is. Right? The longer the quiet stretches on, the heavier her eyelids look. Soon they close completely as she tries to mumble something. I smile to myself. Last night was arduous. I'm pleased that Margaret feels safe enough to fall asleep. I continually keep watch, allowing her to nap. ... Eventually Margaret begins to stir. Her eyes flutter open and she blankly stares at me, realizing what happened. I give her a small wave.
Hello.
Margaret blinks a few times and begins to look sheepish.
Hello. I hope I haven't missed anything.
I softly shake my head.
No. All is well.
Well, that's a relief.
Before continuing, Margaret stops to untangle her charmingly curled hair from the bark of her resting spot. She keeps yawning.
It's been quite a long time since I've dozed off in the middle of the day. Usually I'm far too busy for something like that.
I am the same.
Margaret chuckles slightly to herself, though she's quick to share the reason with me.
I used to be scolded as a child for sleeping during the day.
Why? Somehow it is not difficult to imagine that.
Were you different as a child than you are now?
Not quite. I had much the same disposition, but I was quite the night owl. I'd stay up late into the evening and drift off during the day because of that.
Oh, same here.
Thankfully, I've gotten in the habit of more acceptable bedtime since then.
I nod attentively at her answer. She raises a single teasing eyebrow and smiles at my eagerness.
I'm not sure what you find so fascinating.
I feel my face flush and have to break eye contact before I can speak further.
I think what you have to say is interesting. You're interesting, Margaret.
Oh, I'm blushing and shit. This is cute. Now she's blushing and shit. Margaret begins to blush as well. She stares at her lap awkwardly.
If you're sure.
Yeah. We share a mutually nervous moment of silence. Margaret tentatively speaks up, trying to break the tension.
There was a pond in the woods behind my house. A tortoise lived there and I used to visit it all the time. I've heard that they live for a very long time, so I used to make up stories in my mind about what he may have seen in his many days.
Aw. Margaret tugs at her hair and glances away from me. I smile warmly at her recollection.
I'm not sure why that memory was the first thing to come up when trying to find something to say.
I chortle softly and Margaret jovially pretends to be aghast with me.
You don't have to laugh at me.
I continue to grin at her.
I'm sorry, it was a lovely story.
That's adorable. Margaret stares in surprise. That's a surprise face? This is more like, I'm gonna rape you in that face. And I'm just like, please no. Then it fades into a kind smile.
Thank you.
That's not a kind smile, that is a creepy smile, but whatever. Gaze back. We're gonna gaze back. I catch Margaret's eyes and we spend a moment sharing a gentle connection. The two of us continue to trade memories with one another as we pass the time. ...
It's been quite some time. We ought to go back for Lou.
You're right.
I rise from the ground. Margaret follows suit. She brushes flecks of dirt off her skirt and begins to speak.
I hope he won't try to shoo us away again. We have to take this seriously.
The two of us make our way over to where we left Lou, as hastily as the thick forest will allow. Unfortunately, there's nothing to see but shrubbery upon our arrival. Lou must have gone elsewhere. Yes. Well, I'm going to end this episode off here. So, with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this episode of Lake of Voices and would like to see more of the scam, then leave a like down below, leave a comment down below. Share with your friends, subscribe if you haven't, ring that notification bell, and remember, die safely. Bye-bye!